First of all, I want to congratulate you for completing step 1 through 5. Today, I'm going to give you guys a step-by-step guide on how to buy a property here in California. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. Fun facts. My name is Fred Espino. I'm a full-time realtor, passionate in helping individuals and families build a stable future through real estate. I'm also an avid scuba diver. I do both recreational, tech, and cave diving. Once a week, I'm an ICU nurse, which I also enjoy. Knowledge is power. Buyers in today's market need to know the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval. Pre-qualification is when a lender, a banker, or a mortgage broker will get information about your finances and credit score and give you an estimate on how much house you can get approved for. Pre-approval is so much better because now the lender will verify all the information that you provided, such as W-2s, credit score, debts, credit card debts, assets that you may have. It can go to underwriting. They will give you a pre-approval letter, which is a promise, not a commitment, to lend you that specific amount, which can be good for 90 days. Now that you got pre-approved, what's the next step? I call it the fun part, the home search. Let me ask you a question. How do you know if this is the right house for you and your family when searching for a home? Option A, the 80% rule. Option B, location, location, location. And option C, I want everything new. Believe it or not, the answer is A and B. Option A, 80% rule. If you and your family sees 80% or love 80% of what you see in this house, that's your property. Statistically, believe it or not, people will move 2 to 3 times in their lifetime. Option B, location. If you pick the ugliest house in the nicest neighborhood, you will still make a lot of money. Believe me. And option C, I want everything new. I made this mistake when buying my first property. I got everything new in this condo. The inside looks good. However, I picked a bad location. I still made money, but I could have made more money if I picked the right location. Now that your offer got accepted, yes. What's the next step? You need to wire your earnest money deposit within the next 3 days. It could be 1 to 2% of the property value. Also, prepare for inspection. Inspection in California can cost you around $400 to $700. Depends on who you get. Ask your realtor if they know anyone. Also, I would prepare for termite inspection, which is very standard. This can cost around $100 to $200. These are all buyer's expense that I'm telling you right now. And last one, sewage inspection can cost around $150 to $250. These are all essential, so at least you know the house is in great condition when you close escrow and there's not going to be a lot of surprises or repairs towards the end. So now that you finish all the inspection, you need to learn the negotiation process. You need to use sound judgment and be objective. Don't be too emotional. Be nice and reasonable to the seller. Use data to negotiate, such as your inspection report, termite report, and sewage report. You can negotiate these things. Always put things in writing. I cannot emphasize that enough. Find a middle ground. And lastly, if the foundation is cracked or roof is leaking and there's a lot of things to fix in this house or property, know when to walk away. Release of contingencies. But before we dive into this, I want you as a buyer to know the definition of contingencies. Basically, these are clauses in your purchase contract that protect you as a buyer. It also protects your earnest money deposit, where a buyer can back out of a sale of a house if these contingencies are not met. Remember, earnest money deposit is usually 1 to 2%. If you're purchasing a $1 million house, 1% is $10,000, 2% is $20,000. You want to protect this money if the contingencies are not met. So let's talk about the release of investigation and inspection of buyer contingency. If the home fails inspection, you can negotiate with the seller and have these things fixed. Or you can have the seller give you money to fix these problems. Otherwise, you can back out of the sale. Release of loan contingency. These are also called mortgage contingencies or financing contingencies. These protect you as a buyer from losing your earnest money deposit, which is 1 to 2%, if your home loan is not approved. Again, if your home loan is not approved. Typically, you and the seller will agree at a specific amount of time, typically within a week, before the closing date, before you release this contingency. Okay, last but not the least, let's talk about appraisal contingency. Usually, your lender will order a home appraisal during your loan application. A good example of this would be if the seller is selling their house for $1 million and the appraiser said it's only worth $990,000, you as a buyer get to negotiate that $10,000. There's two things that could happen. Either the seller will lower their price, or you as a buyer accepts responsibility of that $10,000 difference. When you release this contingency, this means that you as a buyer accepts that responsibility of the house getting appraised for what it's worth. So before you do this, consult with your realtor. Okay, let's talk about escrow. Step 1, remember that time when I talked to you guys, when your offer gets accepted, you need to wire that initial earnest money deposit. That's the start of escrow. Step 2, disclosures and inspection. The seller has to give you a lot of paperwork about this property, what upgrades they performed. You need to read each document before you sign them. Step 3, vesting information. This tells you how you will take title on the property. If you're buying this property alone, you will take title as sole ownership. If you're buying it with a partner, there are several ways to take title. It could be as community property, could be as joint tenants, or tenancy in common. Step 4, repairs, negotiation, and appraisal. So I talked to you guys about this in length. So just make sure that the seller has done what was promised to you guys before closing. Step 5, mortgage and home loan. Make sure that your lender has got all the documents that they need, and make sure your home loan is good to go and it's approved. And step 5, you need to do a final walkthrough with your realtor, making sure that the property is in good condition before you take possession. So, I've unpacked a lot of information to you today. I hope I achieved my objective, which is to decrease that anxiety, lessen your doubts in buying your first property. I leave you these final thoughts. Invest in your future, because having a property in California, you will have generational wealth that you, your kids, and family can enjoy for so many years. Until then, see you guys. Bye.